Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's October 20th of 2021. I'm moving the microphone towards me, so maybe my voice will be better. My audio will be better. You can probably hear the grounds people are in this apartment complex are out cutting the grass and doing stuff like that. Looks like there may be some news on what's his name? Brian Dyer. A cadaver dog is on the scene at a Florida park. And they put a no-fly zone over the place. I think they said until sometime tomorrow. An ex-FBI agent explains why the cadaver dogs were brought in. Apparently they found something, not a body, but something along the path or whatever, items. It sounded, they haven't given much information, but it sounds like, I'm going to guess that they found some things maybe thrown away by him that somebody might have needed, but would be the type of thing that would be thrown away if the person was, going to maybe kill themselves. And that's just a guess. I'm not even sure. They were not on YouTube, this couple. I'm not sure which service they were on. Wickawacky or I don't know. Bitten Bar, I don't know. Don't care. I'm on YouTube. Um, Mitch McConnell just sent Donald Trump a very clear message about 2022. Both of those people, former President Trump and Mitch McConnell. But of course, anybody next to, if you're comparing, former President Donald Trump is so bad in every way, and he's just a terrible person, that even somebody as, what was it, Grinch for Christmas or something, no matter who you are, if you're being compared with Donald Trump, even Mitch McConnell comes out looking good. Trump's ex-deputy chief of staff not ready to cooperate with the January 6th committee. I hope. I don't know though. I mean, it's politics, and those people who won't testify about an attempted overthrow of the United States of America, who broke into the Capitol of the United States, caused the death of some people, and caused post-traumatic stress disorder to others, and what I think it's more than 500 people. I forget what the last number was. Has been arrested. Uh, these people who won't testify, think they don't have to testify. Congress, in order to pass laws and see if laws need to be changed, all that kind of stuff, they have to do, hearings, and they have to gather information, or else the system just would not work. Uh, and so these people, need to testify, whoever the committee thinks, needs to testify. And I hope that they, of course, I hope the people would cooperate. Even if they're guilty, I would hope that they would say, I made a mistake, whatever the excuse they want to use. Although how somebody who is especially has, sworn an oath, repeatedly to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, and then they committed treason. But I just want to see him. But we're going to go through this thing of ordering them to appear. They already did that. They're not going to appear. I think two of them have agreed to testify. And then there's going to be they're going to refuse, and then such and such is going to be done, and then they're going to come back with a court. They're going to go to a court on it, and the court's going to have to decide, and it's going to go on. I just, they've refused to, appear before the committee, and I'd just like to see them, be taken into custody and locked up. And when they agree to testify, I think the way it works with like courts, I'm not sure exactly on this, but I think the way it works on courts, like news media people have refused to answer questions or tell where they got information, who told them, or something like that. And I think in the past what's happened is, if it's like a grand jury, usually I think what happens is the person is just held in jail as long as the grand jury is, doing their job or something like that. But I'd like to see these people just, go out, handcuff them, take them to a prison facility, and just hold them until they decide that they want to, Of course, we have to, we can't, you can't take them to a dangerous, worse, we can't do that anymore, unfortunately. Sometimes I joke. Was that a joke? Okay, this is new. Facebook plans to change its name. I think we could make some jokes out of that. I mean, it's going to change its name. Facebook is planning to rebrand itself with a new name focused on the metaverse, The Verge reported on Tuesday, as the tech giant comes under fire from regulators around the world and its business practices. The company plans to announce the new name next week, The Verge reported, citing a source with direct knowledge of the matter. Facebook wants to be known for more than social media, according to the tech publication. I don't like Facebook. I never liked Facebook for a lot of reasons, and I've heard other people say the same thing. And of course, but I mean, Facebook is also, extremely popular. I wish I was so popular. Well, I really don't. Cottage cheese. Let's go back here to CNN. I rearranged my computers, hooked them up different ways. I'm back using the Blue Yeti microphone. I rearranged things. I do have two cameras hooked up now. I've also worked with the audio again because I've been having problems of not being in sync. A black girl was arrested at school in Hawaii over a drawing that upset a parent. Okay, how old of a girl, you know? A black girl was arrested at school in Hawaii over a drawing that upset a parent. A 10-year-old black girl was handcuffed and taken to a police station over a drawing in Honolulu, Civil Rights Associates said. The American Civil Liberties Union of Hawaii is demanding policy changes after a 10-year-old black girl, was arrested at school over a drawing linked to a run-of-the-mill dispute among children. You know, I've seen in the past in Florida, I believe it is. I mean, I think it was like a first grader or a kindergartner or something. A kid was handcuffed. All types of things. That there's been a number of cases like that. That's and I think part of it, they need to have school security, or if they want to have, you know, police officers working there, assigned to work there, okay. Should be with proper training and stuff, but the police shouldn't be and they should be there, of course, you know, to prevent shootings and other types of things like that, but they shouldn't be arresting children, you know, and there's cases of that are there's, you know, the number of children that are getting arrested, little children are, you know, and, you know, older children are getting arrested. And two, I think this thing of, now sure, some kid who goes in, you know, with assault rifle or, you know, that type of stuff, yeah, charge them with a terrorist thing if you want to, but there are kids, I've seen stories of little kids that have drawn, you know, be drawing something, and a police officer or a school resource officer arrests them and charges them with, you know, terrorist, something. That's, you know, but somebody being arrested for a terrorist thing, that should be pretty rare, especially a, you know, a grade school or even a high school kid. That should be pretty rare. I mean, you could charge like high school kids, you could charge them with, you know, some other things, but terrorist threats, I think that's just some police officer who's maybe with a small police department or something where there's nothing going on, and every day he goes home and his wife says, "How was your day?" And he says, "Well, I gave, you know, 5 tickets for whatever, and arrested somebody for shoplifting, and I arrested somebody for trespassing or something," and, you know, but then one day he has something come up that he can, you know, he goes home and tells his wife, you know, "I made an arrest for terrorist threats or bomb threats or something like that." I guess he's hoping maybe she doesn't ask, "Oh, you know, was it a Muslim or a Republican?" No, you know. Let's see. When police arrived, the girl was only identified as NB. Well, naturally, she's a juvenile, and, you know, the name shouldn't be, you know, released to the public. She was handcuffed. Elementary school. It says elementary school. Let's see. A parent called the school and complained about a drawing made by the girl and demanded the staff call the police. Okay, you know, I don't know. I don't know all the details, but I don't want to say what I'm thinking, because that would be inappropriate. I worked hospital security for 30 years, and I had several times, like one person was in charge of an RN and a supervisor who was in charge of uh, surgery and the emergency room. It was a small hospital. He was in charge of both. And a couple times, remember once he told me, stop him. And I said, what for? And then he told me, and I said, no, I can't stop him for that. And then another time he told me to arrest somebody, and I said, no, I'm not arresting them, and you can't tell me to arrest somebody. Or not arrest somebody. I just lucked. I lucked out several times because I had somebody, much higher in the ranking system. I'm not talking about the security. I'm talking about assistant administrator of hospital or the doctor who's the chief of staff or something like that. And I said, no, you don't tell me to arrest somebody, and you can't tell me to, not arrest somebody. That's a decision that I have to make. Of course, they could always fire me, but as far as, anyway, God, somehow these officers who are working in the schools, they have to, I noticed a YouTube video, and it was at a school, and they weren't trying to show this, it was just, I forget what the thing was, but they were showing the hallway of a school, and the kids were, like leaving their classes and going to the next, classroom and stuff like that. And there was a police officer, or a school resource officer, and he was out in the hall yelling like a drill sergeant or something or other, get to that. And, I don't think that, the school maybe, is letting him do it, and maybe depending on, they want him to do it, But no, I don't think he should be in that situation. I think he ought to be there for, they know, and I'm sure they've gone through training, and I'm sure they have, and he shouldn't be, the guy who's yelling in the hall, Now, if there's a fire or something, and he's saying, exit immediately, stay in line, or if there's they have to, or on lockdown because of something, he could say, barricade yourself in the rooms, barricade the doors, don't answer, that kind of stuff. But so far as a routine, going into the cafeteria and telling, hey, you left your tray on the table, you need to go and dump it in the trash. No, I don't think he should be doing that kind of stuff. I think he should be isolated from doing that kind of stuff. But you're going to get, and the school's going to take advantage of the officer by trying to get him to do things, if they can tell him, well, we want you to. Now, if the school may know of something like, hey, there's been vandalism or something in this parking lot over here, would you keep a close eye on that? That kind of stuff's fine. But, if they're telling the school resource officer, well, they should be telling him, hey, don't arrest a little kid, don't handcuff a little kid. But, of course, if it's, some kids are big, you can't make it, it ought to be, call us, we will, we'll handle the situation. Of course, I think what's happening is a lot of these teachers, now they have a police officer there, and if some kid talks back to them or something or other, I'm going to report you to the police, Anyway, I never worked as a I spent many, many years working two jobs. The second job being a contract security officer someplace. I worked a whole bunch of, you know, places or whatever. One for quite a while was a radio television station. I worked there. I enjoyed doing that. And they didn't listen to me one time when they should have, but that's, I mentioned that before. That was about, I was out in the parking lot and I saw a crescent moon and a planet moving together in the sky, and I went inside and I said, it was KCMO radio and television or whatever. I went inside and I said, are you people getting calls about a planet and the moon or whatever it was? I forget what it was now. And they said, no, talk to, forget his name, he was the weatherman. He was also into astronomy and that kind of stuff. They said, he'll know about it. So I went back out to the parking lot, and then he came in. He drove to Yates. I can't remember his name. He came in, got out of his car, and I said, have you ever seen anything like this? And he said, oh, that's nothing. He says, that's called such and such. I don't know, planet in conjunction. I forget what it was called, which I was interested in astronomy for a long time, and I had a small telescope, and when I had my bulletin board system, there was an astronomy club, a large astronomy club, local one, and they didn't have a bulletin board system, so I set them up, and then eventually they could use my board, and I had a section set up for them, and I used to subscribe to the astronomy magazine, stuff like that. But anyway, so I said, oh, okay. He said, that's nothing. Went inside, and about 30 minutes later, or an hour later, I was outside. I totally forgot about it. I mean, I kept watching it, and it was going down, down. Before long, it'd be below the horizon. And it was just before the 6 p.m. news or whatever. And I'm standing out there in a parking lot, and the producer, director of the news or somebody else comes out, and other people come, there's like 5 or 6 people. Where is it? Where is it? I said, where's what? What you told us about? I said, oh, it's over there, but it's just about gone. It's, And then they took their walkie-talkie and they called their mobile unit, the Jeep or whatever, and it must have been close. And it comes roaring into the parking lot. Where is it? Where is it? And then something. Oh, I can see it. I know a hill we can get to. They only knew, the front page of the Kansas City Times or Star, which one was Times was morning, Star was night. Okay, it would have been Star, I guess. No, it would have been the next morning. The thing would have been. All the radio and television stations, well, all the television stations, except for KCMO Channel 5, they didn't have any video or any information on it. They just needed to listen to me. But anyway, I worked a lot of different places, and it's that contract security. That's a different, that's a different thing. It's, it could be it could be a place, a manufacturing plant that manufactured cat litter. Mulebach Hotel, after it had closed and gone out of business, had just tons of places there. You do have to listen to, if you're working contract security, you do have to listen to, but the people. But it's a problem, like for those places, when they hire off-duty police officers who make big bucks, because it's like they got you know what I mean? If these businesses want a police officer, now the police officer is not supposed to be towing cars and writing tickets and doing that kind of stuff if he's working off duty. Of course, I'm sure the thing varies with cities and states and that type of stuff. You know, they're not supposed to be doing that. But then again, that would depend, you know. But that's the problem, you know. Say you have a business. What kind of a business? A restaurant, say a hotel, okay, or a motel or something like that, and you hire the people that run the place. They probably don't want you arresting people if you're a police officer. You're a police officer, but you're working off duty there, and one reason they may want you there is so you can arrest people, you know, whatever. But you're not supposed to be, you know. I mean, if somebody, if you're security or an off-duty police officer, whatever, sure. If somebody comes in and you're on the FBI's 10 most wanted list or something, well, yeah. Or if but that's a problem. You get these police officers who overreact. Then you get also security people who are working at hotels and places like that, and off-duty police officers. And if a football team, say the Kansas City Chiefs, or a baseball team, the Royals, are there partying or, in there for whatever, they can pretty much smash up the place. I never actually, I did work at for a few days, motel, hotel, that type thing. But I know security officers who work there, and the football players and baseball players, and I'm sure other teams and stuff like that, would be, doing all kinds of shit. And the police, look the other way, and that's what the hotel, wanted, and that's. I worked. I'm not going to go into that. I was just going to say I worked at a place that was a motel situation or whatever, and they had only one of us at a time, and the problem was people having their cars broken into and everything out there, like that, in the parking lot. So I was out in the parking lot. Then I get called to go into the bar part or whatever, and the manager of the place or whatever, he was sitting there with some people, and then it was one of these situations where, this is my officer. Yeah, he's I forget how he put it, but it was like, it did not go over well with me, you know what I mean? And I mean, I was polite to him, but I didn't engage in any, it was like, I just didn't really engage with any, I did the necessary stuff, but it wasn't like, yes, master, and then I got, the next day they sent me, the company, because he called, I'm sure. And I don't know what, if he wanted me to sit down and have a beer with him and tell these people how great he was, or, or tell some kind of a story or something, or I don't know what he wanted, but it wasn't, They sent me, though, someplace, and these contract guard places send you someplace. And they all, just seem like always, they'd always say, okay, well, you just go there, and when you get there, the guy who you're relieving, he'll tell you what you need to know and show you what you need to know, and all this kind of stuff. And I would get there, and the others would, the same thing. I'd get there, and I'd say, this is my first time here. And the guy'd say, this is my first time here. They told me when I got here, the guy who I relieved, and he says, the guy I relieved, his first time here too, and he didn't know where any, So, and, and I just about I could have been easily killed at that place, not from a bad person or whatever, but from, there was, at that one of those places, and I'm not opposed to the things where you have to go to, hit a key or do something or other, to show that you made rounds, and they have them in a certain order, and then they can check the thing and see. Now, of course, things have changed so much, probably just, you wouldn't have to hit the key or do something or carry a device with you, probably just, But, yeah, you needed to make your rounds also to, make sure the place was secure, make sure there's no fire, and make sure no piece of machinery is, binding up and going to run a piece of equipment, or, just all kinds of stuff to check. And in order to make the rounds, you had to step on this belt that came out of the ground, or out of, the floor. It came up and it was a belt. And when it came up, of course, a flap came down. I mean, a number of, it comes down. And then you can step on the thing and you stand on it, and then you got the ropes, and then you can stop or start, and then it goes up. I did not know that there was an opening just barely big enough for me to get my head through and my shoulders through and my hips through or whatever. I was not told anything about that place, and luckily I was going up, and I looked up, and then I pulled in and survived. Otherwise, they'd have found me the next day or whatever. When the next, I guess, security person showed up, they'd have found me squished like a bug. I don't know how many times you show up for a job in one of those contract guard jobs, and two, what they would do is now for me, I learned pretty quick. I said, okay, I can work Saturday and Sunday for you. I can work 8 hours, or I can work 12 hours for you on those days, but don't call me for any other type of a shift. I have another job. I can, and I'm not working, But, of course, you can't leave your post. I mean, so I'd go and, to relieve somebody, like one was a meat, it's hard to say manufacturing place, but, where the meat comes in, and then it's the butchers and things carve it up, and then it goes into packages that go out to stores, that kind of stuff. And and so I go. They sent me over there. I've never been there before. Employees were throwing, pork chops and steaks and stuff over a fence, and to go into the parking lot and then picking them up and taking them home, having a nice meal, stuff like that. And then other stuff, you had to check in trucks, or no, there was somebody there to check in the trucks, but you had. Well, I think sometimes the person would leave, you'd have to check in the truck, stuff like that. But the point was, like, I'd go over there, like this one time I go over there, and the guy said, well, thank God you're here. I've worked, I think he'd worked 2 12-hour shifts or something. One, he'd been there for 24 hours or whatever, without relief, And I showed up and I said, well, go home and get some sleep. And he said, no, I can't. He said, they need a security person over at a hotel, not a hotel, an office building. And I said, you need to go home. This is, he says, they need somebody. And he says, the supervisor told me I could just go over there, check, make sure everything's locked up, and then go in, and then find some place to lay down and go to sleep or whatever. And but I learned right away that, no, I'm not, you're not going to, but others didn't and couldn't, and some of the guys liked the overtime or whatever, but let's see. What in the world did this black girl do? What was she, 10 years old? Yeah, 10 years old. What? The girl's mother was called to the school, but she was not allowed to see her daughter or informed that the girl was handcuffed in front of staff and her peers and placed in a squad car and taken away. Oh, wow. That is a no-no. I mean, even the police, if they arrest some, juvenile, the parents need to be notified immediately. And, they're not to be questioned or, I mean, if they need to be questioned for, like, hey, they were with somebody else and that other kid's missing, but, no, you can't. That's why, too, a lot of people here in the United States, I don't know what the laws are outside the United States, but parents will say, the police don't do their job. This kid did such and such. And now, no. I was a hospital security officer for 30 years. I was a reserve police officer for a small town. And we didn't have much, I had more activity working hospital security in one day than I think I had in all the years I worked, just about for that, small town as a reserve officer. But in the United States, a juvenile does something, the police, they can come and, arrest the kid or whatever, necessary, depending on what the laws are in the state, and who's classified as a juvenile or, who's an adult and that kind of stuff. But, no, basically, the kid does something and you turn them over to juvenile authorities and to the juvenile court, and that's it. And parents get, some kid in a neighborhood is a bully and doing crap and maybe has, psychological or mental problems or something. The kids are turned over to, the juvenile authorities. They're not locked up in a, cell. Now, you could, I guess, lock them up in a cell to keep them from doing, to keep them from, injuring themselves or some, but I still didn't find out what this 10-year-old girl did. Honolulu police said they're reviewing the situation. And the girl allegedly participated in drawing an offensive sketch of a student in response to the students bullying her. I hope the Queen's okay. I saw on the news that last week I saw that the Queen Elizabeth, I think it was last week, was using a cane for the first time. And now she was supposed to go, I think, to Northern Ireland on a trip, and that trip's been canceled. So, Alexa, how old is Queen Elizabeth?
Queen Elizabeth II is 95 years old and was born on April 21st, 1926.
Let's see here. I hope this audio is in sync and everything. Senate Republicans blocked the Democrats voting, and it says and election bill. I think what the Democrats are trying to do is what should be actually easy to do if they would get cooperation, and that's just pass a law. We had them in the past for the southern states after the Civil War, to stop them from doing the Jim Crow laws and trying to. And that's what we need, is a law that will prevent from now on any states, trying to keep people from voting, or that type of stuff. Needs to be some, because the Republicans have now decided that they're going to change their state laws when it comes to voting, so that they're going to try different things in different states, but make it so somebody can if somebody in the state, instead of an independent election board or something like that, the governor or somebody the governor appoints, or it's going to vary from state to state, can say, no, the candidate that we wanted to win didn't win, so we're not going to certify, so it'll be like, the Texas would say, nah, Biden didn't win the presidential election, and they would set it up so somebody's there, and it's pretty disgusting. The school shooter who was responsible for killing 17 students or staff and then injuring 17 or whatever, got a life sentence, and it could be a death, penalty case. And he was found guilty, he pleaded guilty. Navy investigation says fire that destroyed a U.S. warship was caused by a chain of errors. That's the way most things are. A woman was raped on a transit system in some city. Onlookers recorded it, and nobody tried to stop it, and nobody called 911. Until finally somebody who worked for the so it was a story of a woman raped on a southeastern Pennsylvania Transit Authority train, SEPTA, in Philadelphia. Onlookers reportedly recorded the video with their cell phones, but did not intervene or call 911. In mind-boggling horrific. It suggests not only a total disregard for the woman's safety and well-being, but social disintegration, a disturbing impulse. I think things do have changed. I don't know if this matters in this case, but You know, before there were cell phones, uh, you know, people couldn't make calls. Well, you could with a radio telephone in your car or something, a doctor, or, you know, something like that. But and I was, and others, of course, I was an amateur radio operator, so of course I had a walkie-talkie, and I could make go through a repeater with my walkie-talkie. There was times that I was out and I saw a house on fire once. I remember saw numerous traffic accidents and places where ambulances were needed, that kind of stuff, and I could call. I would have to explain, I'd have to. They didn't. That was before 911, but they had, dispatchers, and I would call. And I'm on a radio, I'm on a ham. I'm a ham radio operator. I'm on a ham radio, and I'm calling mobile, and there was a fire or a car accident or something rather, and that information got, passed through. Then when the cell phones came and everything, and now, things happen, and 911 centers are just, they for one fire or car accident or whatever, everybody's calling. They're going by, maybe blocks away. I see some smoke or, something. And, but now I think, I'm not sure if I'm correct or not, now there's a whole bunch of people. There's still people, thank God, not in this case, but there's still people who, call the police and stuff. But now you also have people who are using their cell phone to make, video of it and not calling the police or the fire department or, whoever they want to get up. I mean, I'm sure you've heard too, somebody will be saying to somebody at a fire or something rather. Of course, you can hear the sirens usually, in the background coming. But somebody will say, did you get that? Are you getting that video? Yeah, that'll be on YouTube. You'll make a lot of money. That'll go viral or something. No, it won't. And two, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos. I'm sure you have too. Something will be going on. There was one that was kind of shocking. It was on like an interstate highway or something. There was a petroleum truck or something that was on, one of these tanker type things. And it was on fire. I mean, it was on fire. And, in the beginning, some people drove by it instead of just stopping. And then there was at least a couple, because you couldn't see what was behind, but, there was a guy, and he was out of his vehicle, and he was with his cell phone making a video of the thing. And the thing exploded. It was kind of strange. I'm not sure if they had cylinders in there. It looked like a tanker type truck, but I'm not sure if they had cylinders in there or if things were compartmentalized. But anyway, this guy is with his cell phone, and boom! I mean, a terrific explosion from that truck. And he's like, he's still making a video, and I'm thinking, get the fuck out of there. Get away from there. And then another major, bigger explosion goes off, and he's there or whatever, and then another one goes off, and then he gets in his car, and then he's, trying to back it up. But people are idiots, Working hospital security, oh my God, parking that is a thing. People go crazy over parking. Everybody expects to park by the front door, I swear there was employees who would you would think that they were should be able to drive in the lobby and park inside the lobby of the hospital. There were nurses who had worked at the hospital for maybe 30, 40 years or whatever, and they always came in and they always parked in the very same spot. They didn't know how to get to the other parking lots or whatever. And we'd be doing, they'd be sandblasting the inside of the things where they could, the garage, where they could paint it, or there'd be construction that needed to be fixed because, the rebar or whatever was coming out of the concrete or something, and people couldn't park in there. They get their car spray painted. They get their car, blasted by a sandblaster, or it'd be all kinds of things. And I'd be out there sometimes in 100-degree weather, and spending an 8-hour shift out there, or it'd be be a blizzard or something. I'd be freezing my ass off, and these people would come in, and they some of them would cuss me out. A couple of times, department heads of the hospital. One was the director of food service, and he couldn't park in this parking lot because people could park in that parking lot until we had to keep 10 spaces or something in there for volunteers, because volunteers are those gray-haired ladies are so damn, so we had to save, so the person there would be, could see, because especially that parking lot was like on a hill. It was bad. They finally, put a nice parking garage there. But, so you had to be there in the morning, Monday through Friday. And the employees would come in, and they were allowed to go in. But you had to count, you knew how many spaces you had. And then once they went in, then you knew you were down to like 10. Then you had to say no more. And they needed to go to this other parking lot up the street. And this director of, and two, they wouldn't, they would see, no, there's parking spaces over there. Why do you have to fucking explain everything to, of course you had, well, we have to save those parking spots for the volunteers that come in, But there's one guy, he was a director of food service. He floorboarded his car, which, left rubber on the street from his car, fine if you want to run your tires or whatever. Go to the other parking spot. And then, believe it or not, I was down there to help the parking lot attendant. I had 7 parking lot attendants on the day shift that I was in charge of, in addition to security. And I went down there to help him because I knew where the problems were going to be and when, to help out. And I was down there, and the employee health nurse, now take this, the employee health nurse, real nice lady, RN, and her job was, to look out after the health of, the employees and what she could do, and she had an office and the whole thing. A real nice lady. But she came in, whatever, and it got down to, and she was saying, I can park, and then there's spaces over there, and I can't remember if it was me that, or the parking lot attendant said by her name, I forget what her name was, let's say Mary. Mary, those 10 spaces, we have to save those for, the volunteers that come in or something. And she was, no, and she was going off. And I went around, I stepped in like I was in front of her vehicle, and she floorboarded it, and I jumped out of the way, and she went and parked in one of those parking spots. And anyway, I didn't leave then because of that, but I had other things I needed to do, so I went up to the security office, and her office was right down, we were on the 6th floor, and her office was on the 6th floor, and I went up and I went into the security, we had 3 security offices, and I went into the office, and I didn't enter it on my activity sheet, I didn't, I knew, everything, but anyway, she comes and she says, oh, Jim, I didn't try to run over you. I wasn't, I said, don't worry about it. And Yeah, that was the end. I didn't say anything about, but that was the employee health nurse. If I hadn't jumped out of the way, she would hit me with her car. Anyway, I guess that's it. This is actually sort of a test of the audio. So I hope it's okay. Thank you very much for watching.